In this episode, Dheeraj Sinha explains why judging a Cannes Lion is equal parts excitement and responsibility, why truly award-worthy work combines a meaningful problem, exceptional creativity, and measurable impact.
If you look at India's trajectory over the last 5 years, on an average we won 25 to 30, 35 medals combined. We've won Grand Prix. Last year we had a PR Grand Prix. All of that has come to India. I would say the receptibility to cultural nuances, to authenticity is all-time high. I think what AI will do is help us execute better and faster. You can almost see the layouts, you can see the film the way it will look right now, right? Sometimes our industry hides behind mediocrity. So we say, this work is good enough, but because it's strategic, but it's creatively poor, and it will win a feast. And it won't win a feast because it's creatively poor, right? Because we're in the business of creativity. And we're in the business of creativity, right? Both the words are important. We are not in art for art's sake. So whatever we do has to be spectacularly creative. We are against any kind of doctoring using AI. So all AI is welcome as far as we know that it is AI and is part of solving the problem. Why not?
Hi Dheeraj, thank
Hi.
you so much for taking the time to speak to Campaign.
Absolutely great to be here.
And congratulations on being a juror for the Cannes Lion. I'm sure you're excited with this role.
Yeah, of course. I think multiple emotions. One is, how hard it is to win a Cannes Lion, and I've spent many years waiting in the auditorium and going up, and that thrill to get the award is a different thrill. And especially to go on stage and get a gold is a different thrill. I've been lucky to do that. And now on the other side, you also feel very responsible because you know what it means to win a Cannes Lion. So from a jury side, you're like, you want to do the best and you feel responsible and you want to be really, really thorough. So with excitement, there's also responsibility. And also looking forward to a lot of great conversations with fellow jury members because it's a very esteemed panel. So that's where your learning comes from, really.
I'm sure there is a lot of emotions from someone who's actually waiting over there on this side in the dais, and someone now who's going to be on the other side trying to explain why they gave a certain kind of work the award. And you're in a very interesting category, a category that is spoken about extensively, right?
Yeah.
Creative strategy.
Yeah.
So for the longest time, Cannes was all about creativity.
Yeah.
And this time, it's about creative strategy.
Yeah.
And as one of the winners, how exactly are you going to sit with your co-jurors to decide what separates a good piece of work from something that is lion-worthy?
Yeah. I think a couple of things. One is that we're also at a very interesting point in our business and our industry, right? I mean, so much of change has happened and there are headlines every day that Claude is going to eat up all the advertising business. As a set of jury, we're also looking at work which makes an impression and impact for our industry, right? Which tells the people that this business is a real one. We take real problems, solve them, and make them impactful through creative ideas, right? So part of the filter is, are these ideas representative of a great healthy industry? For example, one. Second is there a large problem or a complicated problem that you're solving through peak creativity? And then are you able to see impact of that? So the connections between the problem, peak creativity, and then dramatic impact is what you're looking for. And when you have all three, tick, 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 is when you realize that this is Cannes worthy. If it is just creative, it's not good enough. If it is just strategic but poor on creative, it's not good enough. So peak creativity, peak strategy, and of course solving a problem which you feel, wow, that's a hard problem to solve.
So if I were to ask you to belabor a little bit more on how you would define peak creativity, because if you look at it, there's peak strategy, there's peak creativity, and in an era when we are dominated with so much dashboards, right, that will define strategy, and at the same time, so many ideas that are coming up which also defines creativity, and also impact. So how are you going to set some guidelines over there on how this definition should be there, so everybody is on the same page as to what is really worthy of a win?
I think, sometimes our industry hides behind mediocrity. So we say, this work is good enough, but because it's strategic, but it's creatively poor, and it will win a feast. And it won't win a feast because it's creatively poor, right? Because we're in the business of creativity. And we're in the business of creativity, right? Both the words are important. We are not in art for art's sake. So whatever we do has to be spectacularly creative. It has to move you. It has to, say, wow, I never saw an idea like this, or I never saw a connection being made in this way. It comes from a part of a culture, or it makes a combination which is never seen before, or it uses something to solve a problem that I could never see. It makes those combinations. So that's peak creativity for me, right? And taking a problem and flipping it on its head is peak strategy, right? So you've seen a problem and you've framed it in a way or reframed it in a way that suddenly it looks solvable, right? So you bring the two together, and that's the hardest, right? I mean, in our world of advertising, you see lots of ideas which are very good on strategy alone, or lots of ideas which are very good on creativity alone. What we are bringing together here are the twin peaks. And that's really the challenge, and that's what we are looking for. In terms of the body of work which goes through performance, I think it's also how the human mind works, right? I mean, there's a emotional affectivity that leads to choice making from consumer perspective. Like, I feel good about this brand. I feel good about what you're talking to. You're giving me the kind of vibe I need, right? Once you've been through that, you may look for some rational reasons to purchase, and that's where the mid funnel and bottom funnel work, and that's where all the performance dashboard comes into play, right? So the performance has the mid funnel, bottom funnel job. The brand and the emotion and the effectivity has the top funnel job, right? And they all coexist. It's not one against the other, and therefore our job here is to look at work which has, as I said, solved problems in a spectacular way and make you feel that, wow, I mean, I wish I had done that.
So, when you talk about solving of problems, a lot of it is also indigenous to a certain geography.
Yeah.
If I were to hark back to one of your successful, campaigns, which is Lucky Yatra, now folks in Southeast Asia would resonate with it so well because they take the local trains so often and they understand it. But if you were to then take it to, let's say, a more westernized, region, they might not be able to relate to it. So how do you also see whether the impact has some kind of a larger sustainability, especially in terms of the relatability of the idea?
Yeah. Actually, I would say on the other hand, I think there's so much appetite in today's world for things which are cultural, for things which are authentic, right? As a judge, when I'm looking for ideas which are so culturally rooted to that environment. And I'm trying to make that effort to try and understand that environment and that context. So I would say the receptibility to cultural nuances, to authenticity is all-time high in today's world, whether it's cultural ideas or strategic ideas or creative ideas born out of advertising. So I don't really think that's a problem at all. I mean, all the ideas that I have been part of in the past, whether it's Lucky Yatra or Whisper, work we did with the missing chapter, and so on and so forth. All the ideas have been very, very cultural, yet they won Grand Prix at Cannes because the jury today makes that effort to understand the context. And the more nuanced, the more cultural you are, I think it's better.
When you have gone through when you, I'm sure, had your first session with your jurors, is there some very interesting conversations that have taken place that you could probably say about what are some of the things that you're really looking for?
See, right now the conversations haven't been about the work so much, but more the way we want to judge and so on and so forth and what we are looking for. And I said the biggest theme I remember is to say that in the context that we are all looking for ideas which reaffirms the faith in our business, which says that this business of advertising gets into a problem, solves it, and creates indelible impact and business outcome.
Are you also seeing more and more brands get involved in Cannes Lion now? Because earlier it was literally an agency's playground.
Yeah.
But now it seems that brands are equally inclined to be over there either directly or through their agency partners.
15 years back when I went to Cannes for the first time, that was very creatively dominated. Then it was very platform dominated with folks like Google and Meta and so on and so forth. And now you see a lot of client engagement. In fact, I've been lucky across all agencies and all the work that I've taken to Cannes of having taken our clients. In fact, Spotify and we presented together at Cannes a couple of years ago. So there is a lot of interest from clients on Cannes for the work which is central to their business, which is move the needle. They want that work to win. They want to come to Cannes, be part of the celebration and the conversations which are going on at Cannes. So I would say that there's huge amount of respect that the platform has from the marketing and the business fraternity as well.
So, earlier we spoke about the cultural aspect, and you said that, yes, the market is ready and people are willing to understand the cultural granularities that are there. So, coming down to India, do you think that the work that is presented from India to Cannes is really rich, really nuanced, but somewhere globally bereft, and that's why India doesn't get the kind of awards that it is worthy of?
I'm not sure I agree fully with that. I would say that if you look at India's trajectory over the last 5 years, so to say, I think we've done great at Cannes Lion, right? I mean, you may not be able to pinpoint 1 year versus the other, but I'm saying overall trajectory, right? I mean, on an average, we won 25 to 30, 35 medals combined. We've won Grand Prix. Last year, we had a PR Grand Prix. Year before, we had a Sustainable Development Goals Grand Prix. We've had Creative Effectiveness Grand Prix. All of that has come to India, right? So I would say that the body of work overall has been peak from a global perspective. So when there's an idea, which is absolutely fantastic, it has done great for the brand, it has made that impact, it will win. And why will it not win? And I think most of the Indian talent now is smart enough and is educated enough to create case studies which are intelligible to the global audience. So I don't really think that any of those are excuses anymore.
Earlier you mentioned about that one word that is either dreaded or is embraced entirely by the industry, which is AI. Right? So already we are saying that AI is driving efficiency gains across planning, across production and optimization. But still, the industry is at that point where while AI can prove its effectiveness, it still is dependent on human insight and cultural insight. So what does that mean for the next generation of Cannes-worthy work, especially for a digitally native talent force, which, kind of naturally leans towards AI for a lot of things, from strategy to creativity?
I think people who are saying that AI will eat away the industry are the people who are looking at the industry from outside. They don't understand this business well enough. Right? I think there will always be need for taste making. There will always be need for choice making. There will always be need for somebody to curate those experiences, to make those decisions. Right? I think what AI will do is help us execute better and faster. You can almost see the layouts. You can see the film the way it will look right now. Right? It will also help us get the everyday monotonous work out quickly so that we can focus on the larger, bigger pieces, right? 2 years here down the line, if you're sitting and having a chat, chances are AI has assimilated itself and the industry has assimilated itself with AI. So the two are intertwined together, right? In our work processes, our work process will change. It will not be the way it is with AI coming in, right? But I feel it's going to be a very, very useful coexistence, and AI will become a very, very effective tool in the hands of creative and strategy people. That's the outcome it will be. And you will see a lot of AI usage in ideas which win at Cannes and so on and so forth. But at the same time, you will see enough sparks of humanity in that, because that's what makes us different. That's what makes us human beings.
But at the same time, last year, because of the amount of AI-driven work that was at Cannes, the organizations had to put in certain guidelines. So how is it that you're actually going to ensure that whatever work is submitted, the creativity remains at the core? You mentioned about the peak creativity, but even if there are layers of AI built around it, you along with your co-jurors are going to dive straight into it, slice through the AI and see that if there is a nucleus to look at.
Any new technology coming on board, right, in the first phase of the technology, you may not have the right guardrails or rules built around it because you're just playing with it. And I think last year was that, right? So we didn't have enough guardrails or rules or propriety built around the use of AI, which has been built this year. So we're not looking at weaning AI out. We're just looking at knowing what part of the work is AI and what part of the work is not AI, right? And we are against any kind of doctoring using AI. So that's all. I mean, it's as simple or as complicated as that. I mean, all AI is welcome as far as we know that it is AI and is part of solving the problem. Why not?
So, there is this one interesting line that I was reading, that distinctiveness matters more than differentiation,
Yeah.
right? So, do you personally believe that distinctiveness is not merely a branding theory, but is something that is really rooted in how consumers actually see, remember, and behave? And the reason I'm asking is that if you do believe in it, is there any piece of work that you have seen in the creative strategy category, in the past, that really drives home the point?
I think the entire body of work, Vinita, right? I mean, which wins at Cannes, or even if it doesn't win at Cannes, the body of work that we look at and say, "Wow, what a great piece of work!" I mean, all the work that I've been part of, as I said, Whisper or Spotify work, or now Dettol work that McCann has done. We've just done the body of work for VIP. We're saying travel VIP. Like if you're traveling with VIP suitcases and luggage, you get just a bit of a VIP treatment because of it, and so on and so forth. So all the piece of work that you remember, or which has affected you as a human being, or affected the jury as a human being, that when they've given an award, has had a cultural piece to it, a cultural nuance to it, and a brand piece coming into it. Right, whether it was the missing chapter at Whisper, or whether it was turning the railway ticket into a lottery ticket, or whether it's all the body of work for Spotify, where we said music is the grease of life, it helps you hustle on. Right, all the body of work actually comes from a bit of the life that you've lived and a bit of a culture that you represent, and people look at that and say, "Wow, that's authentic, that's interesting. I want to be part of that," and they want to say thank you for that work that you've done.
I'm sure you must have done a little bit of groundwork for your particular category, right?
Yeah.
And have you looked up any of the films from the years past for creative strategy? And if you have, which are the ones not from your own organization that have really struck you, and why?
So I have actually not gone so much category down, because my view is that ideas are not boxed into categories. It's just that we are judging from the lens of creative strategy, but when the results come out, you'll see same ideas when across categories, because those ideas are breakout ideas, right? And I've actually been going to Cannes every year, and I take Cannes as education, because and even this year, right? I mean, my point is, who are we to judge? We are also students at the same time. We are also learning while we are watching the cases and getting something from it. I mean, that's our selfish interest, right? So because we are also looking at work that our colleagues have done, our peers have done globally. So I always take Cannes as education. So I go and attend all the award shows. I see all the body of work. And over a period of time, the entire body of work which is being developed globally, I don't want to name one or two, has always shifted my mind on how to think, how to make connections, how to use technology, how to use data, how to use human behavior and culture to solve problems. So I would say the entire library in that sense.
So I remember, if I'm not mistaken, last year, in your erstwhile role, you had actually created an entire Cannes jury initiative, so that your team would know how to make the submissions and everything like that.
Yeah.
And I believe a lot of it came from your own insights of what the body of work is, right?
Yeah.
So how is it that when you're going over there as a student,
Yeah.
you take all those learnings,
Yeah.
and then you come and percolate it down to the team, so that they are also absorbing as much of the learnings,
Absolutely.
the concurrent learnings? How do you do that?
No, I'm always a believer of taking more and more people to Cannes. So in previous companies, we've taken 25, 30 people to Cannes, young people to Cannes. It took me 11, 12 years in the business to first go to Cannes. We've taken people with 1 year experience or 2 years experience to Cannes, because my belief is that unless you show them the global benchmark, right, how do you expect them to create work which is globally benchmarked? So I'm a big believer in that. But then we also have processes of disseminating that, and we have a subscription to Love the Work. We have creative leaders taking their own pieces and presenting it to smaller cohorts, discussing it. In fact, we have a rule that before every briefing, we must look at the benchmark work which has been created in that category. So before you're getting into a brief, you play 2 or 3 pieces of best work which has happened in that category. That changes the tonality of conversation in the room. That changes the taste of interaction in that room. So those are the ways. I mean, it's like what you feed yourself is what you will output, right? If you feed yourself great work, chances are you will produce some of that.
I agree. So this time, other than just being with the jurors, of course, cloistered for a long time with them, being on the other side, on the jury table, listening and absorbing to all the interesting work that is there and the sessions as well. What are the other things that you're looking forward to at Cannes?
I think obviously meeting all the friends and folks was a good time to just rekindle. There's some meetings we do from one can to the other. These are rituals. So those meetings have been set up. So they're friends which meet can to can. There's a Michaels in Can get together which happens every year. So we'll pop in there. Right. So lots of meetings, lots of friends meetings, lot of network meetings, lot of client meetings, jury, some parties, of course. I mean, Cannes does get tiring by the end of the 7 day for you. So I'm sure with all the coverage, because you want to take everything in and you're still like, oh my God, I still have something left.
And last question. If there's one thing that you could propose to the organizers of how they could, improve or accentuate the event, what would that be?
I don't know if there are, I mean, I know Cannes now does spikes, right? But if there are mini Cannes possible for more and more people to be able to participate in that, because Cannes is very, very expensive. They know that, right? And therefore, as agencies, there are very few people we can take. And I always worry about, if you look at just my organization, if there are 2 people going from McCann, and there are 600 people in McCann, how do we get them the taste of what global creativity looks like? And not just through Love the Work subscription, but something which is a bit more in flesh and in that sense. So that is something, I don't have a solve for it, but that would be interesting for the industry.
Maybe when you have that conversations with other peers over there, you could propose it, and there could be a lobbying force, and something like that might just happen. You never know, right?
Sure. Yeah.
But yes, thank you.
Maybe they give me a bit of equity in that idea then.
I will be happy to also join in over there. But thank you, Dheeraj. It was lovely to get your inputs, and I can't wait to see the winners from your category at Cannes.
Great catching up.
Thank you.